On January 18, 2008, in a quiet neighborhood in Canada, a homeless man was collecting bottles to sell when, while digging through some trash, he came across a terrifying sight. It was a severed right arm placed inside a garbage bag. Shocked and not knowing what to do, the man started knocking on nearby doors, telling people, "Hey everyone, come see what I found." One of the neighbors went to check it out, got scared when he saw it, and immediately called the police to report everything. At first, the police thought it was a prank, but they still responded to the call. When they got to the container, they were shocked to find a real human arm inside. "Hi, and you welcome." The investigators started checking nearby containers in the same area where they found the arm, hoping to find the rest of the body. That's when the shock hit again. They found the left arm in the same area they searched before, and some fingers were cut off. They quickly took the arms to forensics to start the examination and autopsy. The investigators' biggest fear was that the arms belonged to different victims, meaning they might be dealing with a serial killer. But thankfully, during the examination, they confirmed the arms were from the same victim and tried to proceed from there. They ran tests and analyses to figure out who the owner of the arms was, but it was all for nothing. The arms had tattoos, but knowing the victim just by the tattoos was impossible. However, after they took the fingerprints, they got lucky and were able to identify the body through them. Chad Larky, 22 years old. The investigators tried to collect more details like fibers and hair using tape from the arms, hoping it would help with the investigation. They went to tell his mother the news, but when she heard it, she was shocked and died from fear and horror. She was confused and told them, "My son is Muslim and he has enemies but a kind heart." So I told him, "Oh, kind-hearted one, are you complaining to someone?" He said, "Impossible. My son didn't have any enemies with anyone." The investigators asked his neighbors, friends, and people around him, but no one suspected anyone. Everyone said he was a respectful and decent person. Oh man, okay, so who killed him? It's a tricky matter, so calm down and focus on the details. On the evening of the crime, Chad was at one of the bars in the area where he lived, and that day he was drinking alcohol. The police managed to review the bar's camera footage and also track Chad's last phone calls. At that time, his dad called him, saying, "My dear son, come on, take me out of this mess." He told him, "Get ready, I'm coming to get you." But the strange thing is, after Chad died, the police contacted his father and told him the story, starting with "Peace be upon you," and said, "We need to question you." He told them he had no idea about the crime and refused to come in for questioning. The police were surprised by his reaction and told him that if he didn't come, they would arrest him and bring him in by force. So he agreed to come, but the police were still surprised by how he acted. You wouldn't believe it. His son died, and he showed no emotion about it. The problem was, during the investigation, his dad started telling them all the details. What happened on the day of the crime? After I picked up my son from the bar, we were on our way home. On the way, Chad told me that his best friend, Dean, was waiting for him downstairs. When we got home, they met up, and I went to grab some groceries from the market. After I came back, I made a phone call and then went back inside. Now, about the story Chad told, he didn't convince the investigators, and I don't think he convinced you either. As for me, I wasn't convinced either. But the problem is, after the investigators checked the surveillance cameras, it turned out his story was accurate because when he met up with his friend, it was confirmed that he went to the market and then came back home. During the investigation, the detectives realized that his dad was probably telling the truth and there were no suspicions about him. After checking the criminal record of his friend, they found out that his friend had a history with drugs and illegal stuff. But is it possible that his lifelong friend, who's only 23, committed this crime? Unfortunately, the crime was happening at the time, so they decided to ask the public for help. They told everyone to contact them if they had any evidence. Even though many calls turned out to be false alarms, there was one very important call. A guy who owns a farm called the police and told them, "Listen, there was a suspicious fire next to my farm, but it's been put out now. I noticed that at the place where the fire happened, there were sharp tools and some strange stuff." The police responded to the report and went to the farm. When the investigators arrived, they found some knives and cooking tools. At the same time, There were footprints and tire marks on the snow, but so far that hasn't led them to any solid evidence. During the investigation, one of the detectives happened to spot a receipt near the fire. He picked it up and looked at it, and it turned out to be from a store called 11S, dated 2 weeks ago. So they went to the store, checked the security footage, and were able to see the suspect that he was buying minutes for the SIM card he had, and that's when the police got shocked. This guy was Chad's loyal friend and the last person who was with him. But don't jump to conclusions yet, we don't have any solid proof so far. After checking the debt records, they found out he rented a truck before the fire started. The tire marks on the truck matched the ones found at the fire scene. The weirdest part is that nearby the farm, they found the same truck burned out. The fire was clearly set on purpose, but luckily the front part of the truck was still intact. When they searched inside, they found a shoe that was the same size as the one. There were traces on the snow, and there was also a receipt for buying a fuel can. When they checked the place and time on the receipt, they were shocked to find out that Dane was the one who bought it. After that, he went to a gas station and filled up gasoline. So all the evidence points to him being behind the fire. But there's no proof that he killed and dismembered his friend. The investigators immediately requested a search warrant for Dane's house, but when it wasn't approved, they issued a wanted notice for Dane's car. After a while, they found the car burned out in a remote area, with the license plate removed and the car stripped down. So why? What's the reason? And can you believe the police still haven't found Dane? After searching, it turned out he was hiding at one of his friend's places. And when he found out the police were after him, he pulled a sneaky move with his hand that had a serious wound. If the police saw it, everything would be clear to them. Just like you guessed, the guy named Din was the killer, and the wound was because he hurt his hand while cutting up his friend. To cover it up, he went to the kitchen and burned his hand in the frying pan to throw them off. The burn was 3rd degree, but luck wasn't on his side because the police got a warrant to search his house. When they got there and went inside, they were surprised by what they saw. The rugs were taken out, the place was a mess, and cleaning supplies were everywhere. The detectives started looking for any traces. They found blood on something that proved the crime happened inside the house. Sure enough, there were bloodstains on the walls, and when they tested the blood, they were shocked to find it matched the victim Chad's blood exactly. There was a lot of other evidence too, so they were certain that Dean was the killer. They brought him in for questioning and started the investigation, but he refused to admit to anything and stayed calm the whole time. The investigators called Chad's mom because she was in terrible condition, and she started talking to him, begging him to tell her where her son's body was so she could bury him. After that, the investigators kept pressing him to talk to find out why he killed his friend, but he insisted he didn't admit to anything, and when the trial started, he still refused to admit anything. If they wanted to wait for him to talk, that would take a long time. That's when the shock came because the court sentenced him to just 10 years in prison. After a year behind bars, Dean confessed that he was the one who killed his friend Chad, but he still refused to say why. And if you want to know what happened to Chad's body, I'll tell you, no one has found it to this day. Dean insisted he wouldn't say what he did with the body, but in my opinion, he cut it up and spread it out in the city's dumpsters. No one found any evidence, and maybe he got rid of it somewhere far away like he did with the truck and the cars. Alright, why would he do that? Why would he kill his lifelong friend? I told you at the start of the story that he had a history with drugs and banned substances. It's possible that on the day of the crime, he was high and did what he did. People who use that stuff do anything. It turns them from human into wild animals. God bless you all. As for Abu al-Ghariba's reaction, no one ever knew the reason, even though there was no evidence against him in the crime. And with that, we've reached the end of our story. See you in the next video. Peace.